listening to Give God 90, where we're not afraid of the tough biblical questions, because we will dig through the language, the culture, and the history to find the truth revealed in the words of our Creator.
I wanna see the light.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining me today. My name is Jerry Mitchell, your host for Give God 90. And Myra is not here today. She has an appointment with a dentist, and it sounds like I'm getting a little bit of a feedback here. Let me do one thing. Is that better? Maybe. Okay. Myra is at the dentist, and she will be back with us in short order time, I hope. All fixed up and ready to go. It's good to be back live with you. Before I go any further, I want to absolutely thank the technicians at Spreaker who fixed the software glitch that had us not live for a while. But that's okay, because we're back. They do excellent work. One of the reasons that I enjoy using the Spreaker platform for this, we get to go out on so many different podcast platforms. It's amazing how they do their thing, and I'm glad that they do it. Go ahead and check out givegod90.com. It's up and running. You have 2 days left if you want to get in on the November promotion. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a promotion where we take $5 from every copy of Inheriting Lies that is sold, and we will buy Bibles for the people that don't have access to one. Also, if you like what you hear, share it out there. We enjoy that. Comments are open because we're back live. Of course, you can comment anytime. Doesn't matter whether you're live or not. If you have the Spreaker app, you can comment. But do yourself and everybody else a favor. Whatever podcast platform you are listening on, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It just helps everybody find us a little easier. I've been thinking about something for a while. And excuse me. And there's something amazing that's going on. This time of year, of course, it's the traditional holiday season, and everybody is frantically sending out their requests for donations. All of the charitable organizations. Now, in the United States, if you happen to be listening overseas, in the United States, we have what are called nonprofits. And if you donate money to a nonprofit, then it becomes a tax deduction. Now, the first problem I have with this is the people who, mainly the churches, but other organizations can be nonprofit. They can be secular. It limits what you can say, okay? It's very, very, very seldom used, but it limits what you can say. In fact, there has never been a successful challenge to a church. That being said, I don't like them. I don't like that idea. Charity should be given from the heart and not from your bank account. It's that simple, okay? And as we get into this, you're going to see some things that are amazing, are irritating, frustrating, and just really outright wrong. That's not my opinion. That comes from the Almighty himself. The trend around the world since 2014, when it comes to charitable donations, has been that giving to animal welfare related charities has steadily increased if you compare that to the charities that are used for mankind. And the ones that have been used for mankind are fairly consistent. They haven't really increased that much. They've been relatively consistent. Actually, donations to cancer research remains the highest in the ranking of charities for mankind around the world. Now, The reason for an increase in charitable giving to animal-related organizations is mainly due to the corruption among the organizations, and that includes a misuse of funding. People just no longer trust many of the organizations that claim they want to help people. But they're more apt to trust the organizations that help animals. There's other reasons for this as well. Now, I always try to remind the folks who listen or read the things that I publish to be careful when you give to any charity. It doesn't matter what it is. I would prefer you to be actually involved with that and understand how your money is being used. We don't just blindly give to an organization because it sounds good. You really need to do a little bit of research. And these days, if you're listening to me, you have access to either a computer or a smartphone, something where you can just, see what where your money's going, what it's being used for, right? For instance, a very, very quick, just a quick search, you will find out that in 2021, St. Jude's used about $2 million for salaries. But remember, that includes the salaries for the doctors who work for them. Okay, so if you give to St. Jude's, about $2 million went to the doctors and the nurses, the medical workers that use their skills, and those skills are valuable. And it's about 2% of their total donations. In fact, according to their own reports, St. Jude's uses about 75 cents out of every dollar that you donate to take care of the children, their patients. The rest is in salaries, fundraising, overhead, maybe some advertising, that kind of thing. So if you give $1, 75 cents is actually being used for the children. That's not a bad return on your money. Now, if we compare that to the Humane Society of the United States, okay, they get about $490 million. Okay, that sounds like a lot of money. About $52 million goes for fundraising, operating costs. It's about 10% of their actual overhead. Now, when you think about that, yeah, it sounds like they're using more. They're using 90 cents instead of 75 cents. But they have far more volunteers, okay? So that cuts down on their salary costs, that kind of thing. That's what we look for. Our charitable giving is not solely based on what makes us feel good, okay? Some of it needs to be based on, well, for lack of a better word, the way these charities are reaching out. Now, the other thing we have to remember about the Humane Society and the SPCAs and those kind of places, some of those donations are not counted as cash donations. People give dog food, cat food, feed of some type for the animals that they're looking after. Those are not counted as cash donations. Those are different. So they actually get a lot more. But what they have to report is all their cash, funding, beneficiary type things. And I think that has a reason, because it looks like they're using more of the dollars we give. That's why it has increased the way it does. Now, with all of this giving, and there are billions of dollars being given every year around the world, why are there so many people and so many animals still in need? What's going on? What's the reason for this? They're really, with all of the money that people donate, there shouldn't be a hungry or a homeless person or animal to be found, but there are. And part of the reason is because of the way we actually have come to think about our charitable donations. We think of charity today, and we give. And people ask, and we give. But is that the way it's supposed to be? Is it the way it's supposed to be? Now, the Bible passages that are most often used to support charitable giving actually begin in Deuteronomy 15:7-11. And it reads, "If there is a poor man among your brothers within the gates of your land that the Lord your God is giving you, you are not to harden your heart or shut your hand from your poor brother. Instead, you are to open your hand," and I want you to listen to this carefully, "open your hand and freely loan him whatever he needs. Be careful not to harbor this wicked thought in your heart. The seventh year, the year of release, is near, so that you look upon your poor brother begrudgingly and give him nothing. He will cry out to the Lord against you, and you will be guilty of sin. Give generously to him. Do not let your heart be grieved when you do so, and because of this, the Lord your God will bless you in all your work and in everything which you put in your hand. For there will never cease to be poor in the land. That's why I'm commanding you to open wide your hand to your brother and the poor and needy in hand." There's a lot to unpack here, and I'm not going to get into it all because I will warn you this will be a little longer than I want it to be today. And the reason for that is I have to explain this so carefully. I know I'm going to get a lot of comments from some of the things I'm going to say. Now, the year of release, every 7 years, all the debts were forgiven. So if you, it's close enough, all your debts will be forgiven, you don't really need what I have to give you. That's not the intent that we're supposed to be following. The intent we're supposed to be following instead is if there is a need, and that's a very important word. If there is a need, you loan them what they need. Now, when you say loan, it actually implies that there has to be some type of a beneficial payback. I'm going to get into that more closer to the end of this. But I want you to remember that. You don't just throw money at a problem and hope it goes away. There's more to it than that. I'm going to continue with Proverbs 9:17. Whoever is generous to the poor lends, there's that lend application again, lends to the Lord. Whoever is generous to the poor loans to the Lord, and he will repay him for his deed. There again, using the skills that you have to benefit the people around you, you receive blessings for that. Now I'm going to go up into something that Yeshua Jesus taught in Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 and 2. Be careful not to perform your righteous acts before men to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from the Father in heaven. Make sure that what you do, you're not doing for yourself. You're doing it for the glory of the Almighty. And in verse 2, when you give to the needy, do not sound a trumpet in front of you, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by men. Truly I tell you, those folks have already received their full reward. And as I have said before, there is a lot of sarcasm in the way that Yeshua Jesus speaks, if you actually read it. Don't do it for yourself to be recognized by men. Don't do it for the certificate on the wall that said you gave X number of dollars. Don't do it for the little paperweight or whatever it is that you give out when, a lot of times these charities, if you just give us this amount, we will send you this token of our appreciation. It says you donated too. That's not why you do it. In fact, of the times that Myra and I have given anything, we tell them to keep it, give it to somebody else. We don't want it. Or we will give like $5 less than that typical reward because we just don't want it. We don't need it. That's not why we give. That's not what we're here for. It's not how we help the people in need. We try to find the need and address the actual need. I'm going to get to that too. Now, the reason that Yeshua Jesus uses the word righteous in that passage is because the box that the money would go into as an offering is called the Tzedakah box or the righteousness box. And it was there for a purpose. It was there to make sure that people had what they needed. You know, it had nothing to do with the agricultural tithing, which is basically the payment for the priests and their families. It's how they lived. Not going to get into that. I don't have near the time. The reason for the offering of the Tzedakah box is if someone came to a priest and they made a request, the priest was there to determine if the need was legitimate. Okay? Is this person actually eligible for help if they lack anything, right? A better way to say this, I guess, in our modern terms, the priest was there to determine if they were trying to scam the system. All right? And let's be real. Today, there's a lot of people who do indeed fail to meet the criteria for needing the help they request. There are people and organizations who abuse the goodwill of others. It's that simple. They do. This is why we need to be careful in our giving. We need to understand where the money's going, how it's being used. Here's a hint, okay? When you're being asked, don't listen to what's being said. Don't listen to the things that's tugging on your heartstrings. All right? That won't get you anywhere. You know, if it's an organization, look at their financials, look at their overhead, look at their budget. It doesn't take much to see it. If it's an individual who contacts you, don't listen to what they say that pulls on your heartstrings. Don't listen, but listen to how they say it. Even if it's somebody on a corner, listen to the spirit in their voice. The words that they say, they might draw you in, they might pull you in, they might suck you into their way of thinking. Listen to the spirit of their voice. That will tell you if they are legitimately in need, and it will often tell you what they need, because what they need might not be what they're asking for. Okay? I have organizations call for donations on the phone, and I treat them kind of like sales calls, and I often tell them, I don't give to the people who call me. I really don't. I instead seek out where I want my charitable donations to go. So the people who call me personally, that's how we treat them. That's how we deal with them. I don't give to people that call me. I choose where my money goes. I'm aware of your organization, and if I choose to give to you, I will contact the organization directly. Now, there are people and organizations who do contact Give God 90 and ask if they're able to help, and I scrutinize them severely. So, when I look at those backgrounds and I look at where they're from and who they are, what they're doing, what I do, and I have done this before, is I will let the listeners know, I will let my readers know there's a need here, and I believe it's legitimate. It's that simple. And instead of, you have the option of going through me, but I would much rather put you in contact with the organization or the person and say, this person needs your help. Do you think you're able to give it? And I have had fairly good luck in the past doing that. This year, because of the economy in the United States, let's face it, all donations are down across the board. That's just the way it is. And that brings us to an interesting dilemma in some of the churches today. Now, the first thing we really need to understand is not every church is involved with helping the needy. And that might sound strange because, let's face it, if your church is, you're saying, well, everybody should be involved in helping the needy. But some groups of believers, some assemblies, are not called to do that. Some are called to teach. Some are called to teach the teachers. Some are called to be involved on a more individual level, right? That's what Give God 90 is. We get involved on the individual level. We help people, individuals, improve their lives. And we don't do it by throwing money at them. In fact, very, very, very rarely do we ever financially support anyone. I would much rather teach you how to support yourself. It's going to be better for everyone in the long run. I'm willing to give you something more than money. I'm willing to give you my time. That's a big difference. There is a church that I am familiar with that actually provides 24-hour-a-day child care for single parents. If you're a single parent and you work and you need somebody to watch your child while you're at work. Now, this particular church is not very far from a hospital, and there's a lot of single nurses and single doctors because of the world we live in, right? Let's just be real. They need somebody to watch their child. And so this church provides a place 24 hours a day so that no matter when you're working, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor, it doesn't matter if you're a lawyer, your ability to pay for that care is based on your income. Doesn't matter if you're a housekeeper or a security guard. If you work there, you have access to child care. So you have a safe place for that child to go. That's how they help their community. There are a lot of ways that assemblies of believers are able to make a positive impact on their community. And I will encourage, if you are among one of those in a community that, you look around, you say, well, I'm just not sure where my need is. Look a little closer, because everybody needs something. A lot of people want things too, but that's not what the Bible says. It specifically says need. Okay? And that's where we're going to go with that. It specifically says need. And that, now comes the hard part. And I shouldn't chuckle at that, but I do in a way. Because I need to address the churches that try to help, and I'm going to put that in air quotes, all right, the needy. And I'm going to warn you, what I'm going to say is going to sound harsh. And it's meant to sound harsh for some. Moses writes, we are to give what is needed. All right? And it's a type of loan. We can consider it a loan. We expect whatever we give to have some type of return. Doesn't matter what we give, whatever the person needs. If they need a loaf of bread, okay, we expect them to take that loaf of bread and hopefully feed their family. We don't expect them to trade it for drugs or trade it for whatever. We expect it to be used for the purpose we give it for. That doesn't always happen. Simply giving for the sake of giving doesn't help anyone. Where we are, there are local churches that provide a meal a day for anybody that wants to eat. You can simply walk in and get a meal, no cost. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter if you don't have any money. Doesn't matter if you're Bill Gates. You can walk in and eat free. Now, the problem with this, and yes, there's a problem. The problem with this is that there are many, many people who take advantage of this service who don't have that need. They're not hungry. There's a couple of communities of homeless people in this area who go from place to place to get their meal every day. Every day. These people have actually traded their dignity and their humanity to live off the charity of others with no intention whatsoever of ever returning anything of value back to the community. And I'm going to say this way. Because of what we have become to because of what we have come to consider charitable giving as, our modern churches that provide nothing more than a free meal is no longer actually helping anyone. Instead, they are enabling an unsustainable lifestyle of homelessness and hopelessness that for far too many people, they have become dependent on the churches. And when someone is dependent like that, it could be considered a form of slavery. I know that's harsh. I know that sounds terrible. But the churches who do nothing more than give without expecting any improvement of lifestyle are doing nothing more than enabling the homeless. They're not helping anyone. And I'm going to get people who say, oh, but we got to feed the needy. Stick with me. Okay? Keep listening. Keep listening. The churches that provide that type of situation, that type of charity, that's not biblical giving. Now they've become convinced it is. Oh, we got to be like Jesus. We got to feed the masses. We got to take these 2 fish and 5 loaves and make it feed 5,000 people. That's not what it's about. That's not even what that lesson is about. You know, the kind of, that type of concept, that type of giving enables the charlatans to continue their lifestyle of living off the resources of charity. They're actually stealing resources from the people who legitimately need. Some churches have become a place where the same people can be seen day after day, week after week, sometimes year after year. The biblical concept of help, give what is needed, and the entire biblical concept of forgiving debt, okay, is you help where there's a need, and you expect that person who receives that help to get back on their feet so that they can do the same for others. Wait a minute. That means when I loaned them that food, it strengthened their physical body so that they could become productive members of my society. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? But when the same people return day after day, week after week, year after year, the church has turned them into slaves. They're content to live from the charity of others. They are content to live from the charity of others, and steal resources meant for those who actually have a legitimate need. These organizations must begin to scrutinize the people that come to them for help. You know, in our local area, again, and it's a resort area. Okay, so there's a lot of hotels, motels, retail stores. They have help wanted signs out. They're willing to hire warm bodies. Okay, it's that simple. It's that simple. They people around here are looking for workers. The problem is, if somebody can survive, you know, yeah, I don't have a place to live, but, you know, when it gets cold out, I can go to a shelter. I don't have a place to live, but I can go here and there and there and there and eat. I don't have to do anything. I can continue my lifestyle. All I have to give up is my dignity. All I have to give up is my humanity. All I have to give up is my freedom, because now I am completely enslaved to this system of charity. Do you see what happens here? Churches, are you listening? Pastors, I know you're going to be the first ones to write comments on me, private message me and comment me. I know you are. But do you realize what you're doing? But that's the problem. Where's the solution? How do we change this? How do we turn this around from people being completely dependent and slaves to the loss of humanity and dignity? How do we turn that around? Well, there is a solution. The ones who are doing nothing but giving out food, they have got to think, am I giving this person what they actually need? Am I loaning this person what they actually need? Or am I just giving them something to make myself feel better? You know, if I see that advertisement on television, if I hear the cries of help from that poor person or that poor animal, oh, it's going to make me feel better if I'll just send them $5. It's not that much, but maybe it'll help. I want you to think about this. In Genesis chapter 3, God tells Adam, you will eat by the sweat of your face. You have to work for food. Now, there are people out there who can't, and I understand that. They have a need. But the people who can work should work. And it's entirely possible for some of these churches to begin a program where they actually match the people they're feeding. They bring them in, they talk to them, they get personally involved in their lives, and they match the person possibly with a local employer. What a concept. They can find them a good paying job for the ones who are capable of working, right? And I'm not talking about, we work closely with Goodwill or this thrift store or that charity. No. Get out of your comfort zone, folks. Go and meet with these employers. Here's a concept. Churches invite store managers to a meeting. What kind of people are you looking for? How can we plug our people into your source so that they can improve their lives? What a concept. Some churches actually have groups that will go around to the poor members of a church or the poor people in the community. They'll provide home repairs or they'll mow the grass. They'll do different things for them. There's a place you might be able to plug some people into. Being a general laborer for a carpenter or a mason, that's where a lot of people get their start. And they can, you're giving somebody their dignity back. You're giving somebody their humanity back when you give them the opportunity to help someone else. Do you see where we're going with this now? So for all the pastors who were thinking, oh, we've got to feed them, we've got to do this, here's where you get paid back. You plug them in to places that are willing to help you, give them their dignity, helping to do the things for them that they need to do. That's what we do. That's what we do. You know, I know a local couple who, I have to be careful how I say this because I don't want to identify them. A local couple who provides food for the folks in their community. And they have begged for somebody to work beside them in their ministry who is able to find and provide some type of a service. They're willing. They want you to. They come to me. How do I meet these people? How do I get in touch with these people? And no one has yet offered to do that for them. I would, but I don't have time, and we're moving anyway. But they saw what was going on. Now, they are able to plug some people into some things, but not as many as they need. Not nearly as many as they need. You know, some churches have doctors and nurses who have offered to provide basic medical care, but they won't let them. You know, the folks who come in for the meals, let us look them over, make sure they're healthy. But because of the laws and the liability in the United States today, the churches are afraid to do that, have that simple service. You need to find a way to overcome that. You know, figure it out. I'm sure that if you have doctors and nurses, you've probably got lawyers there too. Figure it out. If the church really wants to offer the kind of biblical charity that they claim, give the people what they need, not what they want. I speak with people all over the world. In fact, if you happened to hear that noise just a minute ago, that was someone giving me a call from Africa. I speak to people all over the world. And I can see this is not just a United States problem. It's an all over the world problem. Churches have gone to poor communities all over the world. Missionaries have gone out all over the world. And they've created the same problem. They've created a culture of slavery. Communities, entire communities all over the world that have become completely dependent on the charity of others. And unfortunately, and I really don't want to say this, but it's the truth. These folks have been enslaved by the charity of others, expecting nothing in return. And they do it to make themselves feel good. Not the folks who are dependent, but the people who are attempting to offer help. Oh, it's a poor person. I'm going to help feed them today. Oh, it's a this. I'm going to help do this today. And they feel good about themselves, and then they leave. Well, you haven't helped anyone. You are continuing the problem. Now, there are organizations out there who go to these communities, and they do, they'll teach people things like sustainable farming, how to raise their own food. And they become personally involved, embedded in that community until that community comes up to a position where they are then able to offer charity to others. That's when you realize and when you know that the work you have done matters. When the person you have helped is able to reach out to others, that's how you see the results. Because what you have given to them, they have given to others. And I'm not talking about that $5 feel-good money either. When you have taken the time to be involved and you see it turned around and carried forward, pay it forward kind of a thing, that's when you know it was worthwhile. That's when you know it was biblical. Unfortunately, one of those unintended consequences, the church has taught people to be nothing more than professional beggars. Oh, this missionary came and he helped us for a little while, but the job wasn't done when he left, and now we need your help. Handout after handout after handout. Slaves to charity. I'm going to say that again. Slaves to charity. We've got to stop that revolving door. You've got to stop giving without some type of expectation being observed, being seen. You've got to give, you've got to loan, and expect someone to improve their life. And again, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that we ignore the immediate need. But when you give what they need, not what they want, expect something. It doesn't have to come directly back to you. I'm not talking about you get paid back directly with interest. But you expect to see that person improve their life. You expect to see their situation improve. You expect to see dignity and humanity return. You expect to see them freed from the slavery to charity. All throughout the Bible, I am the God who brought you out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. We have got to set these people free. And the only way to do that is to expect them to improve their lives. Give them the opportunity to improve their lives. Plug them into the places that will do that for them and with them. What I am saying is that our corrupted view of charity needs to return to the biblical concept. There's always going to be somebody who needs. But if we offer them what they need, at the same time giving them the opportunity to hold on to their dignity, to hold on to their humanity, to improve their lives, to help them, they actually have a purpose. They have value. And that value is not as a slave to charity. Their value is much, much more than being a slave to having someone else feel good because, oh, I helped them today. That steals their dignity. It steals their humanity. It shows who you are. Churches, I'm going to encourage you to find the solutions in your community because each community is going to be different. Some communities need different things than others. If you claim to represent the Creator of the universe, maybe it's time for you to start doing things His way and not the corrupted way that we have become. Here's what I'm going to leave you with. It's time to set the prisoners free. Okay? Set the slaves free. Give them what they need. And if what they need is to be taught how to accept their dignity and how to accept their humanity and how to improve their lives, then find a way to offer that to them as well. Doesn't matter where they live or who they are. Everybody deserves the opportunity and the chance to have that. They are made in the image of our Creator. Loving somebody is not just handing them a free meal. It's taking the time to understand them, where they are, who they are, and let them know they are far more valuable than simply a token of your good feelings. We will be back on Thursday. I know Myra will be here for that. No dentist works that late. So until then, many, many blessings, everyone.